Is that fixed now? It should be fixed. Appreciate the call out though. I was just talking to nobody. Can you let me know if that fixed it? Yeah, there we go. Appreciate it. Gonna have to add a couple people here. Getting off to a little bit of a slow start here. While we wait for a couple people to pick and keep looking at news, see if anything happened besides what we know. Yeah, another thing is there was a report that Jackson Dart has been looking good in practice. I saw this one clip of him where he flipped the ball around and patted it before throwing a strike deep down the field. The spiral wasn't the tightest, but the accuracy was pretty good, although he's once again playing against air, so we'll see how that plays out. So it looks like King Julian went on auto pick. Art's on the clock, and he's here, though, so that's good. Who do I like at the 101 for 2026? So it's a little bit cloudy. 2026 is a really weak class at this point in time compared to at least what we project with a bunch of other classes, specifically 2027. I would compare it weaker, or I would say it's probably weaker than 2025 appears to have been at this point in time. But as far as who I think the 101 is, if I had to guess today, if Arch does declare, I don't think he will, I would probably have Arch Manning there. The running back out of Notre Dame is probably Jeremiah Love is who I'm thinking of. He'd probably be a pretty good option as of now. It's a little bit of a weaker class. So we get Art going with Jaden Daniels. Generally, he's not going to fall to 104. So team one, the auto pick with Chase definitely helped with that. Then we get Jay Jettas, Bijan, Joe Burrow, and Prob gets Neighbors. Great pick. I knew I wasn't going to get him as soon as I was one pick behind Neighbors here at the 109. Or one pick behind Prob, rather. Taking a look at who's here. Definitely going to have to go with Jalen Hurts. I'm not the biggest Jalen Hurts guy, but the rushing is absolutely fantastic. Thank goodness they didn't take away the tush push. He is going to be scoring a lot of those, and I think they're going to make an emphasis to punish teams who voted against the tush push. So after that, though, we get Team 10, the CPU taking Bowers, 11 taking Gibbs, 12 taking CD, then stacking CD with Amon-Ra St. Brown, double receiver. Team 11, interesting build going with Gibbs and Gen 2, even though it's a CPU. Then Mahomes goes in the early second, as is pretty common practice now. I'm going to go ahead and go with Brian Thomas. I think that the ceiling is wide receiver 1 overall. I'm not really worried about the addition of Travis Hunter to this offense. I think it's going to be pretty compressed and basically be, for the most part, Brian Thomas's offense. But I think Travis Hunter should get plenty of targets, as should Brenton Strange. Then Prob goes double wide receiver with Drake London. I like it. Drake London, somebody that I think has all of the sky-high upside in the world. I think he's probably not a good bet to be the wide receiver 1 overall, but I would be absolutely flabbergasted if he wasn't a wide receiver 1. Then looks like we get Art going with Lad McConkey. Good pick. Really good player. Tied to Justin Herbert in that Chargers offense. Martin Hampton goes late second. He's been kind of rising up ADP recently. Obviously, it's a CPU pick, but interesting nonetheless. All right, so taking a look at who's available here. I'm honestly pretty shocked that Caleb Williams is here, considering him. Trey McBride's off the board, although I probably wouldn't take him here. Taking a look at receivers. I think there's a bunch of fine receivers, but I think with Ladd and Nico off the board, I'll probably hold off there. And I'm probably going to go with Caleb Williams. It's pretty interesting that he fell this far. And looks like Justin Herbert, Stroud, Drake May went before him. Prob on the clock here. I'd imagine. Oh, he goes triple receiver. Goodness gracious, Prob. We'll see what you do at we'll see how this build ends up looking. I love that for you to have Harrison as your wide receiver 3, though. Team 6 going with Bijan, Saquon, and Bucky Irving. Interesting startup. They're going to have a very rough time, in my opinion, but we'll see how that plays out. Art gets JSN to go with Ladd McConkey. I love the wide receiver core you got going there so far. And we have Howie, or the King Julian, doing another round of auto picks here. So Art goes with Tetroy McMillan. So he has 3 wide receivers, kind of starting out like prob here. Interesting. I mean, McMillan could, if everything goes his way, theoretically be, in that low end wide receiver 1 range, in my opinion. So to possibly have 3 top 12 wide receivers is a good start, in my opinion. We'll see what Prob does here, though. Maybe he goes Kyler Murray, ? Does he go running back? He goes Roma Dunze. Interesting. Let's see how this build looks for you, man. So taking a look at who's left. Started out with Hurts and Caleb, so I like my quarterback duo. Good for a long time with that. I love having Brian Thomas as a cornerstone asset on this team. Taking a look at who's left, I really like T. Higgins. I like Rashee Rice. Looking at running backs. Trevion and Quinshawn both went. I don't like that. I'm not going quarterback here. I'm going to start out with a balanced team and go with Josh Jacobs here. I think he has top 5 running back potential. I think he's going to get fed the rock a ton when it matters most during the fantasy playoffs. Then we have T. Baker, Henry, McCaffrey, Smith, Chase Brown going afterwards. I'm pretty sure Prob knew I was going to take a quarterback, so that could be one reason he wasn't taking a quarterback. Maybe he's just going to try something out. He always cooks, though. So I'm actually going to go with RJ Harvey here and get my second running back to go with Josh Jacobs. And I like this build so far. And Prov gets Kyler. That's who I figured he was going to go with in the 4th round, but good for him. He was able to get him in the 5th round. We got Art here on the clock. We'll see what Art does. He has 3 wide receivers and Jaden Daniels so far, so a very good start. Tough decision here for Art. Wonder if he goes quarterback 2 here. There's a couple interesting guys left. After that, it gets a little bit iffy in my opinion. Yeah, he goes with Brock Purdy. I love the Brock Purdy pick, especially towards the latter half of the 5th round. Same with Trevor Lawrence. I think those are both very good values, and I think they could put up very good seasons for us. I think they could definitely be ideally mid QB1s, but probably more likely low-end QB1s, in my opinion. Especially Lawrence with that coaching upgrade and getting Travis Hunter to go with Brian Thomas for a second season with BTJ here. The King Julian is actually on the clock and available here. Well, he started out with Josh Allen, who he should not have been able to get at 102, and Bo Nix. Definitely better than him getting Brock Bowers auto-picked for him. Then he got Brees, Laporta, Worthy, and Addison. And so considering, you took a tight, I don't remember. I don't think you actually picked Laporta, but considering you got tight end and running back to be able to get Worthy and Addison, it's definitely a lot of upside at receiver for you. We'll see what Art does. He has his 2 quarterbacks locked up. Maybe he goes running back. Maybe he gets Don't think he'd go tight end, but he might. But BH, if you're still watching this, other people I think could be candidates. You got Drew Alar out of Penn State. He's kind of a toolsy quarterback, kind of very raw in my opinion. I've watched some film on him when I was looking at their running backs, and I definitely think that if he puts it all together, he has a ton of upside. Also, Nussmeier out of LSU. Is this super flex? Why did Chase go 101? Yeah, Bobby, it is super flex. Why did Chase go 101? Because the CPU does CPU things. If you had stayed in this draft, my friend, you might have been the 101. You mean you get the 101 more often than not, it seems. Art goes with his wide receiver 4 in Emeka Egbuka. So definitely appears, unless he gets some really good win now production, maybe some older running backs with the upside, he might be going for kind of a long-term dominance move as opposed to contending immediately. But nonetheless, I really like Egbuka. And I do think they should be running plenty of 3 wide receiver sets. I don't think he's going to get completely JSN'd or Romadunzade. Then we get... Okay, good. Glad BH is still here. Big sad, Bobby. So yeah, we get Prob going with Colston Loveland. Interesting, my friend. Getting a tight end. Taking a look at the tight ends that are available now. I love TJ Hawkinson. Definitely not taking a tight end this early, though. Looking at the wide receivers, there's a bunch of guys that I think are kind of wide receiver 2 types. And so, given the nature of this, with it being start 1 quarterback, running back, wide receiver, and tight end, and then 5 flexes and a super flex, definitely intend to get running backs. And I really like having Caleb Johnson here as my RB3. Definitely think he could get a good bit of volume here. We get Hubbard going off the board, then DJ Moore, Goff, Flowers, Olave, Metcalf. Definitely going to grab my wide receiver 2 here. I am going to go with George Pickens here. So with Pickens, I think the landing spot in Dallas is fantastic. We've seen that Dak Prescott can support multiple wide receivers, and Prob goes with Dak Prescott coincidentally right afterwards. You were in it for a moment, then and then fire happened. It'd be like that, Bobby. But yeah, so then, but I really think that, Pickens, Prescott supported Brandon Cooks and CeeDee Lamb on the same team, and he also was able to put together good seasons for CeeDee Lamb as a rookie with Amari Cooper. So I like Pickens this year for some big boom games. I would be looking to sell him potentially before crash out season happens with him, which might not happen, but with the history of Steelers wide receivers, I would definitely be looking to get out after he probably rises in value here. Hawkinson goes right after to the CPU. Kamara, Art's on the clock here. Still no running backs for him. 4 very good wide receiver talents, along with JD and Purdy. Looking at Prob's team, I love his wide receiver core, obviously. I like his quarterbacks. Prescott should be good for probably another couple of years. He has a lot of control over Dallas with his contract, a lot of guaranteed money, and a no trade clause. With Loveland, probably not getting a ton of win now production from him in that kind of crowded offense, but there's always a chance I'm wrong there, and I love him for the long term, obviously, being in a Ben Johnson offense, being the first player handpicked by Ben Johnson. Taking a look at Art, he goes with JMO. Really high upside player. He goes with his 5th wide receiver. So, you can start a bunch of tight ends, running backs, wide receivers in those 5 flex spots here. So it really is a lot more versatile. It allows you to kind of vary your team builds here to do what you want. I typically like to, when there's a lot of flex spots, go with a lot of running backs because generally, unless you're on a team with a guy that can't catch the ball and they're losing a lot, you generally are a good bet to receive a good bit of volume, and I view them as safer than wide receivers. So that's why I went with 3 running backs from rounds 4 to 6. Looks like Yeah, Art went with JMO. Then King Julian went with Jerry Jeudy. So, considering you drafted your quarterbacks with your first two, then you got Brees Hall in the third and Laporta in the fourth, having Worthy, Addison, and Judy is a lot of upside for you. We'll see what you do here. I think you could potentially go running back. Who's left? Monty's a good player. After that, it kind of falls a little bit flat to me. Bobby said he just traded a late 2026 first for T-Law and a third. What? That's crazy, bro. And I know that's super flex too. So the King Julian goes with Josh Downs, going with a wide receiver heavy build here. Josh Downs, a very talented player. I like him with Daniel Jones actually a little bit more than I do with Anthony Richardson, and he still was producing relatively well considering the circumstances with A-Rich. But yeah, Bobby, that's an absolute steal. Let's take a look. Did I make any trades recently? It has been a minute since I've made a trade. Had plenty of bad offers, though. Art on the board here. He does not have a running back as of yet. What I'm assuming then is if he does not take a running back here, he's probably just going to be going for the future and trying to build a very strong team that once he does get some running back production, he's going to have a very, very good looking team with some young running backs too. I like that idea for you. And I really like for Jaden Higgins, with Houston, I really like the landing spot. Obviously, CJ Stroud is a very good real life quarterback. They get Nick Caley from the Rams. I like that. Let's hope he can adapt, unlike Bobby Slowick. Now, I also specifically like that Nico Collins is there so that he can be the X on the line of scrimmage, and it allows Jaden Higgins to play off line of scrimmage, preferably in the slot. I think he'd be a very good big slot, but he struggles separating deep consistently on the outside, and he's very poor against press, so hopefully he can work on that, but it's very good for him schematically that he is not going to be forced to be an X unless potentially we see an injury to Nico Collins. Prob goes with Ricky Pearsall for his wide receiver 5. I love the upside of Ricky Pearsall. Very good player. I thought he was very well worth the first round pick, although it was pretty surprising he actually got the draft capital. All right, well, David Montgomery has fallen to me. Looking at the wide receivers that are left, I already have BTJ and Pickens. There's definitely some good potential win now wide receivers at tight end. I'll just wait a while and get one. I'm not particularly worried about that. I'm going to go ahead and lock up David Montgomery, get another flex running back there. Has anybody else in the chat made any trades recently? I know that BH and Art made a trade in a league. I'm going to take a look and see what's playing out there. There's a little bit of contention on that. And the contention was that is that I changed my name in a sleeper to the FF strategist instead of my old username. And Art thought that the first round pick was somebody else's, apparently, per the league chat. And so he sent what's almost certainly going to be the 101 because I'm doing a deep rebuild with that in that league for Kyron Williams. So we'll see how that plays out. Taking a look at who's there. Definitely some older guys. Probably going to go with Cortland Sutton here. Get another wide receiver. So I have BTJ, Pickens, and Cortland Sutton. With Sutton, he put up some very impressive fantasy performances. I still think he's going to be the wide receiver 1, at least for another season there. They drafted somebody that I think is going to be a big slot in Pat Bryant in the 3rd round this year. They signed Evan Ingram, so there is a little bit more target competition in the offense, but I definitely think he's the most talented wide receiver there. Prob goes with Bryce Young as his QB3. I like securing a young QB3 so that, when the inevitable happens with Prescott in probably, 4 or 5 years, give or take, who knows? He has a lot of control there. That, assuming Bryce Young continues the breakout that we saw at the end of this past season, you're set up for the long term with at least 2 reasonably young quarterbacks. And with Kyler, even if he doesn't end up working out long term with Arizona, he's definitely going to get a shot to start somewhere for sure. Art goes to Tucker Kraft. I was hoping he was going to fall to me. I probably should have taken him, but I really liked the value of Cortland Sutton here. So good pick, Art. We'll see what the King Julian does here. BH is at a crossroads again. And a crossroads, huh? Yeah, sometimes it's you snooze, you lose with trades, and then sometimes people are understanding and are willing to work with you. I'm going to try to just leave myself out of it and let you two resolve it yourselves how you see fit personally. I don't want to be that commissioner that gets too deep into things and has to control a lot of stuff. I'd rather just allow you two to work it out. But if need be, I can figure out something. So we get Juwan Jennings here. With Brandon Ayuk potentially not being ready for the start of the season, there's definitely a lot of opportunity available in this offense. George Kittle, if he were to go down, there would be plenty of vacated targets there for the rest of this offense. And I'm personally not the biggest Jennings guy, but I definitely see the appeal with him. And he definitely has shown that, at least in one game, he has a lot of upside. He goes with Kyle Williams in the next round, somebody that I think has the ability and is the best deep threat probably on this team already as a rookie, never having played a game yet. And, with Stephon Diggs, I think Diggs is easily going to be the wide receiver 1 in this offense, but I think there's plenty of opportunity for Kyle Williams to immediately establish himself as a vertical X in this offense with the potential to play in the slot. He's very good at the ball in his hands, very good on slants, in breaking routes in general, can stack deep and absolutely burn you off the line of scrimmage. I was a big Kyle Williams guy before the draft, and the draft capital was just the cherry on top. Even if third round isn't elite, he was supposed to be, a fifth, sixth rounder before that. Let's see what Art does here. He's kind of gone wide receiver heavy. You got Tucker Kraft. I like that for the tight end. He has his 2 quarterbacks locked up. He could really do a lot of things here. If he doesn't go running back here, I assume he's probably not specifically not intending to contend this year. Although you only have to start 1 running back, so that's not necessarily true either. It's just at some point there's just going to be nobody guaranteed to have a starting job of any kind for your running back spot. So that would just be one weakness for you if you were trying to contend. But if not, I see what you're trying to do. Team, if y'all look at team 1, I love the team for the most part, but man, you get to those quarterbacks and you have Justin Fields and Jackson Dart. That is very, very rough. Very rough. Taking a look at all the teams here. Team 6 has Ward and Tua. Very very weak quarterback room as well. So Prob goes with David Njoku. I love David Njoku. I think he has a ton of upside. I really like him for the immediate future. Then looking at who is on the clock here, or who's available rather. Could go Chris Godwin, get some more production. Could go Tony Pollard. At my running back core, I got Jacobs, Harvey, Johnson, and Monty. Got Sutton, Pickens, and Brian Thomas. I'm going to go ahead, and unless I see somebody that's a steal down here, no. I'm going to go with Chris Godwin here. Hope that he's available for the beginning of the season. He's a very talented player. Assuming he plays at all, or when he plays, he's going to see a significant target share in that offense. Taking a look at who is available at running back here. I really like Trey Benson. I really like Bashal Tootin. I'll forgo quarterback at this point and go with... Do I have any Cardinals or Jackson? I do have Brian Thomas from Jacksonville. Do I have any Cardinals? I do not. I'm going to go ahead with Trey Benson here. So looking at Jeffrey Jacobs, he says he's in a total rebuild, a 12-team Superflex, 1.0 tight end premium, start 10. Interesting. Son away Quinshon Judkins, mid 26 seconds for Lad McConkey to move away some value. So Judkins and a mid-second for Lad McConkey. I think that's pretty fair. A first and a mid-second. I'd probably prefer the Lad McConkey size, especially in a start 10 where you're kind of at a crossroads in terms of, do you want a lot of extra value, or do you, in the sense of depth, or do you want studs? It's kind of a middle ground there. I have no problem with it, especially in a total rebuild. Obviously, in that context, I think it makes a ton of sense to get a young stud wide receiver in Lad McConkey. I think that's a good trade. I'd probably say you gained a little bit of value too. So then Prob went with Evan Ingram. Prob. That's exactly who I was going to try to get on the swing around, but when I play with you, that just never happens. You are a very good drafter and get all the people that I'm trying to get. Then Art goes with Jaden Blue. So somebody with a lot of upside at running back and, in my opinion, wide open Dallas running back room. We'll see what the King Julian does here. So yeah, it's kind of this point in the drafts, after the 10th round is generally when you have guys that you're just shooting for, if they were able to get a role, due to an injury ahead of them, that they have a lot of upside. So Trey Benson makes sense here. Bashal Tootin makes sense. Jaden Blue makes sense here. And back to you, Jeffrey Jacobs. Yeah, it's probably going to be a low-scoring Cleveland offense. I'm not worried about Quinshon Judkins at all. He can catch the ball, and he's going to be a very good running back, I think. But overall, I would say you absolutely crushed it. And a mid to late 26 seconds. A mid to late 26 second projects to be very weak right now. We'll see how that ends up looking. But I am completely out on this 26 class. There are basically no elite early production type of players in this draft. Whereas, in 27, we have probably, I think, 6 wide receivers that had over 600 receiving yards as true freshmen in the 27 class, for instance. We might have Arch. I would lean toward having Arch. DJ Lagway. We have potentially a couple first-round quarterbacks in 26, which if you need a quarterback would be very good. But I'm just kind of out on that 26 class if I can be. While it's never a good idea to just throw away value to try to pivot, I have tried to pivot hard into 2027 if need be. So King Julian goes with Jalen Warren, Jordan James. With Jordan James, he has a ton of upside. Interesting that he goes off before Isaac Rendo does. With Jalen Warren, I'm personally not the biggest Jalen Warren guy. I think he's a very talented player. I think he's a better fit in more of your gap than outside zone that Arthur Smith likes to run. But very good receiving back as well. We'll see what Art does. He's picked every time up until now, but he is not currently in the draft. Prob, are you watching this stream? You have 3 tight ends, my friend. You are definitely experimenting with this starting lineup, with these starting lineup requirements, that's for sure. Take a look and see if there's any more news while we wait on Art to pick here. Yo, what? Yo, Shadur Sanders was cited by police early Tuesday morning for driving 101 miles per hour. Are you serious, bro? What? No way. That's from Adam Schefter, too. That's not a troll. Did you guys hear about this? What the heck? They photoshopped his face over Wilt Chamberlain's 101 points. 100 points. That's hilarious. We'll see what's happening here. Art still has not picked yet. Man, Shadur Sanders going 101 miles per hour. That's crazy. Bro, what is it with these football players, man? Learn from Henry Ruggs, my guy. That is crazy work. So Art gets auto-picked here. He gets Ferguson, who I actually think is a decent upside shot at tight end. We'll see what Prob ends up doing here. Man, that makes depending on if anything ends up happening, I mean, he didn't obviously kill anybody like Henry Ruggs did, but that'll make it interesting to see what action has taken place. I don't think anything happened with Jordan Addison. He had a DUI, so Sanders is probably fine. That's just crazy work that he's speeding already. Mason Taylor going to Prob. You are 4 tight ends deep, my friend. Mason Taylor, somebody that potentially is a second option in the passing attack, though, with Justin Fields. Should get a good bit of volume, so definitely an understandable pick there. I think I'll wait on the swing around for my quarterback 3. Taking a look at the wide receivers that are left here. Nobody in particular sticks out. Diggs is an interesting one. I'm going to go with Terrence Ferguson here. Rams tight end, probably the 3rd option if I had to guess, but he's in a McVay offense where he should be schemed yak opportunities. I really like Ferguson after the catch. One of the most athletic tight ends in this draft class. I think he's a good player. And taking a look at the quarterbacks that are left, probably going to go with Geno Smith here. Somebody that's a solid QB2. He's definitely older. I believe he's 34 years old, but kind of wraps up my quarterback group here. And I'm trying to build a team that I think can contend right now. So I wanted 2 quarterbacks to build a strong superflex and quarterback 1 position. Get an elite wide receiver 1 in Thomas. Get very good running back depth here with those 4 running backs. Then get some upside plays like George Pickens, Chris Godwin, and Sutton. Then get some upside at running back in the event that James Conner goes down as well, and as well as secure my quarterback 3. We get J.K. Dobbins by Prob. So is that the first running back you've selected? It is. Interesting. In Denver, he's a counterpart to the running back in which I drafted a couple rounds earlier. I think he's a very good fit. I think he should get some volume as long as he's healthy. I think he's a very talented player. We'll see if injuries get the better of him again. He's always injured, and it's awful. Jordan Mason, very good pick in my opinion. The probability of Aaron Jones playing a full NFL season, I would not bet on that. And a running back who I think is talented in a Vikings offense, which should be very running back friendly, even though they just haven't had very many talented rushers with the football. I think he has a lot of upside. and could score plenty of touchdowns. Kind of be a Kyron Williams-y type of player, in my opinion. Then the King Julian gets Sam Darnold, who I believe is his quarterback 3. Yeah, because he got Nix and Allen. So I like that for you. Somebody that has the ability to start immediately right now for you. Torrey Horton has a shot to be the wide receiver 3. Cooper Kupp, we'll see how long he stays healthy. So there's definitely an opportunity for him to get some deep shots in that offense. Art goes with Stafford as his quarterback 3 behind JD and Purdy. I like that for you. We'll see what Prob does here. Waited until round 13 to get running back. There's been a lot of reports of Jalen Milroe looking good. We'll see if that's just a bunch of hype and coach and media speak from the Seattle Seahawks. If that guy hits, that guy's going to be a certified stud for us in fantasy, though. You know you want a tight end, Prob. See if there's any more news on X while we wait for Prob to pick. Looks like nothing so far since that. Prob goes with Ray Davis here. So with Ray Davis, in the event of James Cook potentially missing any time due to injury, he was holding out. It looks as though he's no longer holding out. He would have a ton of upside as the RB1 in this Bills offense. He's already shown some ability as a receiver as well. So while I don't think he's James Cook as a receiver, I definitely think he's serviceable there and could present us with a good bit of upside. Taking a look at who's left among the receivers. The tight ends. I think I'm going to shoot for some upside with Brenton Strange. So I already do have Brian Thomas. So doubling up on Jags is fine in my opinion because I think the offense is going to be pretty consolidated. I think that the next player after Strange and the pecking order is probably somebody like Travis Etienne, potentially LaQuint Allen, Bashal Tootin, somebody like that. And I think that the top 3 target earners are going to be significantly higher than anybody else in this offense. Then we got Bateman, Wright, Garendo, Corum, Tillman, and Coker. So looking at who's available here, somebody I really like and I think is a pretty good value is DJ Giddens. So with DJ Giddens, he's behind Jonathan Taylor. Jonathan Taylor has missed time in 3 consecutive seasons. He's getting older, and while he's a very talented player, I think it's kind of like a Kenneth Walker thing where he has all the upside in the world, but if he's just never healthy, it's just so frustrating to own him. Prop getting Tyler Algier here, somebody else I considered as well. I think he's a very good pick. In the event of a Bijan Robinson injury, he should get essentially all of the work in that backfield. And I think Giddens could as well. And so I think the idea of getting running backs that are backups who could potentially just receive the lion's share of the work and step in as a true RB1 for their own team is a very good idea. Art gets Tyler Shuck. Interesting. He definitely should be the starter, in my opinion. I would be pretty surprised if anybody else is a starter for the Saints this season, unless he gets injured or is just terrible. But, in the late 15th round, you're just shooting for upside. And if he hits, then you get, reasonably, I would say young, but, a 25-year-old quarterback is still plenty young in Superflex. Then we get Brashard Smith, somebody with a lot of receiving upside, who, if this Chiefs offense does become more dynamic and explosive, which I think he was a good pick if they want to do that, he could get a ton of receptions in the short passing game. He's very good after the catch. He's a converted wide receiver, and he's actually a converted wide receiver that is a very good receiving back. Some of these guys that are converted wide receivers aren't even special in the receiving game. which is perplexing at times. Then we get Dante Thornton, somebody with a lot of upside. There have been reports of him starting outside or starting with the ones. With that, I think they're just trying to get their rookie acclimated to the NFL, see if he can win consistently, get some reps with the first team. I'm not worried about Besh not starting. I believe he's nursing an injury, but it's been Thornton, Jacoby Myers, and then obviously Brock Bowers for the most part. Now we have Art on the clock here. Sober Thought says Rice and JSN or Judkins, Olave, Kincaid, Wright, and Woody Marks. So Rice is generally a 4th round startup pick. Jason's a 3rd. Judkins, I think he's a 4th, if I'm remembering correctly. Yeah, Judkins is generally a 4th. So that kind of cancels out with Rashee Rice in terms of startup value. So then it would really be like JSN, Olave, Kincaid, Wright, and Woody Marks. Sober Thoughts, how many starters do you have in your lineup? And how many teams is it as well? I think that would definitely help here. And so Art goes with Shedeur Sanders, the 101 mile an hour man himself. We'll see if he speeds his way into your lineup soon. Then Prob gets Jalen Milroe, very good upside pick as your quarterback 4. Kind of help you load up on some potential upside that's young. Taking a look at who is left. There's a couple guys that I like later on down there. Then somebody that I'm not the highest on per se is Elik Iometer. With him though, it's a wide open receiver core behind Calvin Ridley. So I'm kind of looking for upside here, and a rookie wide receiver who's made some spectacular plays but kind of lacks the consistency with his hands at times and does deal with drops, I think is a decent upside pick here. Now, somebody that I am going to pick here is my 3rd tight end, and this is Theo Johnson of the Giants. He's one of these players where in the Giants offense, they re-signed Darius Slayton. They still have Wan'Dale Robinson, but Malik Neighbors is by far and away the number 1 target in this offense. I think that Theo Johnson could establish himself as the number 2 option in his own offense. And with tight ends, obviously we would prefer that, they be Brock Bowers or Trey McBride, where they're the number 1 option within their own offense. But if you can get a tight end that has the chance to be the number 2 option even, that's the potential there for you to be a difference maker. And Russell Wilson, probably he's just not the best for the middle of the field, but he can stretch the seams, and Theo Johnson can stretch the seams as well. So I do think that there's some upside for Theo this season as he comes back from that Lincefranc injury. Then we have Prob going with Woody Marks. With Woody Marks, there's a lot of receiving upside with him. I don't like the addition of Nick Chubb for him or Joe Mixon, if we're being honest here. But definitely some upside, and I think he should play right away, regardless as to any injuries or lack thereof in that running back core. I think he's probably by far the best receiver between him, Nick Chubb, and Joe Mixon. Then we get Art, who went with A.D. Mitchell, somebody that's very talented, was dealing with below 32nd best quarterback play. I did a film breakdown on him once again. I've said this a million times at the end of the season. He was open on so many out and ups down the field on these goes, these 9s down the sidelines as the X in that offense. He has a very high percentile success rate against press coverage specifically. And so he's a very good fit. He just has to have a quarterback that can actually get him the football. Then the King Julian goes with Daniel Jones. I love that pick for you. There's a ton of upside with him, with Anthony Richardson being the only impediment between him and starting. So I do like that for you. Then you get Palmer, another guy who potentially could see some volume in this Buffalo Bills offense. I think he's going to be a little bit streaky, but you also are getting him, in the 18th round of this mock startup. So good value there with some upside for you. Taking a look, you got Burchard, James, Warren, and Brees. So a little bit weak at running back, very strong at quarterback. Got a really good tight end and got a lot of depth and some upside at receiver. Looking at Art's team, so in Sober Thoughts, he says 12 teams, start 10. I hate to ask another question. How much is that premium? You're good, man. How much is that premium? How many points total do you get per catch? Is it like a 0.5 premium where you get 1.5 points per tight end catch? If it's like a 1.0 premium where you're getting 2 total points per tight end catch, that makes Kincaid a lot more interesting to me. But if it's only a half a point premium where it's 1.5, Kincaid is kind of meh to me. Just depends on. I think once I know that, that'll definitely 1.5. Yeah. Okay. So I would definitely go the Rice and JSN side. Generally, I want to get unless there's just so much value for you, I would generally want to get the best asset or preferably assets in any given trade. Yeah, it could backfire because, Kincaid could kind of break out this year and distinguish himself, but he hasn't done so far. He's just been a fine tight end, not a difference maker. Jalen Wright I'm assuming that's the right. Jalen Wright has a lot of upside, but for all we know, he could, if Achane were to go down, he could split time with Ollie Gordon. Then, Woody Marks, I think, is somebody that has a decent amount of upside in the sense of immediate production, but I just don't think he has 2 running backs he's competing with now to really be able to get a good bit of volume. I love Quinshon Judkins, though, and Olave is a very big question mark. He has all the potential in the world, but just has not really done anything because of injuries, poor quarterback play, and just having a terrible team around him. I would go the Rice and JSN. Okay, so you own Achane as well. Yeah, I would still lean the Rice and JSN side. I think the upside for Rashee Rice is being a top 5 producer for you at wide receiver. We saw that he put up massive production at the beginning of the season and really was starting to ramp up towards the latter half of his rookie season. With JSN, we saw the explosion in week 2, I believe it was, and then especially that week 11 game, if I remember correctly, week 8 against the Rams, where he went 9 for 180 and like 2 or 3 or something. Houston Asterisk asks, how do I find a good Dynasty league? I would take a look. So obviously it helps if you if you know people and you're real life friends with people, because it's more likely to last for a longer time. But you can go on Reddit potentially. That's a good way to do so. I know sometimes if you're on social media and you follow Sleeper, for instance, they sometimes have it. I'm going to go Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt here. By the way, my bad for holding this up. Prob, are you asking for us to do another startup mock? So I'm going to take a look at some of the teams here. I'm going to take a look at the King Julian's team. You want to do another one? Can do a quick 12-rounder. I'll go ahead and I'll start one. We'll see if anybody wants to join. Set that up real quick. So it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So 2 bench spots. All right, we'll update that. I will copy the invite link, go into the browser here. I'm going to go into Strategist League and enter that if you guys want to join. Houston Asterisk says Bijan or Gibbs. So that really is completely up to you. If you get points per carry, I would go with Bijan if I had to. I would go Bijan if there was a points per carry, or potentially if I would just lean Bijan because first of all, I like the build more. He's over the 30 BMI. Gibbs is a little bit below that. With the Lions offense, I expect a little bit of regression, and that definitely could also be true for the Falcons offense because Penix it was such a limited sample size. But I would slightly lean Bijan, but I do have them in the same tier, and you're really not wrong either way you go. I mean, Gibbs just finished higher than Bijan Robinson did, and if David Montgomery were to go down, Gibbs I think is the RB1. In the sense of for the current season, as long as David Montgomery's out. So I definitely understand the appeal there. We'll see if anybody else wants to join. Give it a second. Actually, put that in the league chat. Or I can put that in the YouTube live. Am I tripping? Go ahead and put this. I'll have to go. Yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and I'll go ahead and randomize this, and we'll go ahead and start it. What app is it? It is Sleeper, by the way. Yeah, let me see. I'm trying to get the YouTube live to go. If you want to join real quick. I'm going to go ahead and paste that in the live. If you want to go ahead and join real quick, and we'll get started here in just 1 minute. I'll give him a minute to join if he wants to or not. Looks like nothing happened since that Shedder Sanders news. That is crazy in my opinion. All right, all right. So looks like we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people here. Can you, if you were looking to get in, Houston Asterisks, are you the Alpha Mal JMJ guy? Just wanted to make sure you have a second to join. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and I'll randomize it then. Randomize everything once. And we'll go ahead and start the draft. So Prob is on the clock. He goes, Jaden Daniels, you person, you. I have never been able to get Jaden Daniels, whether it be... Oh, I meant to... Oh. Well. Anyways, no, go back in. I've never been able to get Jaden Daniels in a real startup or a mock startup. So that is disappointing, but that's fine with me. I'll go ahead and get Josh Allen at the 2. I'll have to turn off the sound. That is annoying. No, thank you. So taking a look, it's the same settings where you have one quarterback, one running back, one wide receiver, one tight end, 5 flexes, and then 1 super flex. So it provides you with a lot of versatility in how you want to navigate the startup. You could go running back heavy. You could go balanced. It really doesn't matter. It's obviously just about putting up the most total points. I typically like to lean running back heavy when I start these builds in with a lot of flexes, because you're just more than likely going to get more guaranteed volume, and opportunity is everything. So King Julian goes Chase at the 103. Lots of upside at wide receiver. Interesting. Lamar Jackson goes 6. That'll never happen. So Alpha Male JMJ is on the clock now. Jeffrey Jacobs. We'll see. We'll see who he goes with here. Goes with Jahmyr Gibbs. Good pick there. Jahmyr Gibbs could easily be the RB1. We'll see what Woke Lonzo does here. You gonna draft another bunch of 30 wide receivers, buddy? You're gonna do that build? Yeah, exactly, Prob. Tons of flexibility. I love these where you're not penciled into being forced to have any specific sort of build. With less flexibility, it becomes more important to be able to trade down for value potentially, or just be in a spot where you're able to get certain values in the draft. I love the pick of Neighbors for you, Woke. Genty and Lamb go off the board right afterwards. Obviously, it's the first round, but everybody has made a good pick so far. No surprises. Woke goes with the Neighbors and BTJ combo. I love that combo for you. I have... In my home Dynasty League, I have Neighbors and BTJ both on the same team. It is a nasty combo that is going to feed me for a long time. We'll see who Jeffrey Jacobs goes with here. Saquon Barkley, so double running back. Tons of upside. You could potentially have the running back 1 and 2 this year. We'll see what the King Julian does here. Otherwise, a bunch of CPU picks, nothing too notable, nothing crazy. Mahomes sliding down to the 206 is interesting, and the lack of quarterbacks going off the board here is also a bit surprising to me. For sure, Sober Thoughts. I love these live streams. You just get to connect with people, just talk over potential news, kind of strategies. I want to try to mix these up. I'm going to do a lot of redraft leagues relatively soon as well. If you're into redraft, I'm hoping some other people just kind of get a feel of what we're seeing in terms of ADP, look at any potential values. I'm going to switch up the starting lineup requirements too, to try to give everybody at least one practice with generally what you're going to see, depending on whatever your specific lineup requirements are. So King Julian goes with Drake London, another wide receiver here. Taking a look at who's here. All the wide receiver value is just absolutely cooked. So I'm going to go with somebody that I think has a ridiculous amount of upside in Drake May here. I think we have not even scratched the surface of what he could potentially do for us. Obviously, I love the addition of Stephon Diggs for him. I love that they drafted the offensive tackle out of LSU, Will Campbell, 4th overall. And if he doesn't work as a tackle, he's going to be a Pro Bowl level guard, in my opinion. I love the addition of Kyle Williams as a potential deep threat. They have a bunch of fine players in the offense, but also I like the signing of McDaniels to be the offensive coordinator. While I really don't like him as a head coach because of his personality, as long as he doesn't have enough control over the team to be the head coach, I like things a lot more for that offense specifically. Then Prob goes with Caleb Williams, a nasty combo of Jaden Daniels and Caleb Williams for him. We'll see what Woke does here. He's in a good spot to potentially get a good quarterback that's remaining. Is he just going to draft a bunch of wide receivers again, though? That's what he did last time. He goes with Justin Herbert. Very good real-life quarterback. No worries long-term, obviously, about job security. I think he's going to be a solid low-end QB1. Alpha Male JMJ goes with Kyler Murray, a bunch of rushing upside the Konami code. Is his quarterback 1. He's probably going to be another top 10 quarterback again. The King Julian's up. He goes with Trevor Lawrence, somebody who I think is going to have a bunch of upside this season. So Hampton and Bucky Irving went off the board. I really like Breece Hall, Devon Achane. There's a couple running backs I like still. I'm going to go with Tetroy McMillan, though. Somebody who I think should be easily the wide receiver 1 in Carolina, can be lined up. He has absolute positional versatility as a flanker, slot, and X. I love the offensive creativity of Dave Canales. I think that Bryce Young showed significant progression towards the latter half of this past season. And so I think he's going to be a very high volume and very safe floor type of receiver. Prob goes for the immediate upside of Travis Hunter, which makes sense as well as Devon Achane, finishes a top 5 back in a full point PPR. I'm going to go with Breece Hall here and kind of start off with a balanced build. So that way, I feel really comfortable with, obviously, my quarterback 1 and my super flex and Drake May, but then I feel really comfortable with my wide receiver 1 and running back 1 as well. We get King Julian going with JJ McCarthy here. So with McCarthy, we really don't know what he's going to end up looking like, obviously. But it's a very friendly system, a good offensive line. They invested significantly in the offensive line with multiple additions there. And then obviously he's getting TJ Hawkinson another year removed from the ACL tear that he suffered. Jay Jettas, as well as Jordan Addison. So a lot of playmakers there. Then we get Alpha Male JMJ going Baker. So the Baker and Kyler duo there, nasty duo. Woke goes with Rashee Rice, somebody who I think has top 5 wide receiver upside, like I mentioned during the last draft we just finished. Loved his wide receiver core to start out. That is the staple of a Woke Alonzo startup, is a lot of wide receivers. See what he does. A little bit surprised that some of the running. I'm surprised 2 running backs are still here. There are a lot of good running backs. Yeah, he goes with Quinshon Judkins. That was a great pick. That's who I would have picked if I was you. Then we get Rome Odunze, somebody who I think could easily be the wide receiver 1 in Chicago. I know people are worried about him because I don't know why, to be honest. He looked great. He was dominant in clutch situations. He was the wide receiver 3 in a dysfunctional offense with a rookie quarterback and still put up over 700 yards. He showed flashes of being a dominant physical wide receiver. Hurt me to draft Quinshawn Judkins. Woke, why did it hurt you to draft Quinshawn? He's a stud. He's certified absolute baller. King Julian goes with RJ Harvey. So I'm going to go ahead and draft a difference-making tight end in George Kittle here. I'm going to start out with a very balanced build where I have my QB 1, running back 1, wide receiver 1, tight end 1, and Superflex all locked up with guys with a ton of upside. And I think, I'm not sure if I sniped Prob 1017, but he has sniped me so many times that if I did right there, it would make my heart quite happy because he's a very good drafter. But I like the pick of Quinshawn Judkins, Woke. I think he has a ton of upside. And I love the pick of RJ Harvey, too. I'm not really worried about J.K. Dobbins. I think it's going to be, a little bit frustrating at times, as long as he's healthy. But how long is he going to stay healthy is always a question with him. Then I'm going to go Caleb Johnson, somebody who should get a good bit of volume in the Steelers offense as my running back 2 here. I like some of the running backs, but it starts to get very dry relatively soon, and we've seen a bunch of them go off. And I have him in the same tier as coincidentally Walker and Hubbard. So that's interesting. So appreciate you, Mage Jack. Woke. Appreciate you, Woke. Jeffrey Jacobs says, drafting anyone in the Cleveland offense is a tough sell for me. The offense will be very low scoring. Yeah, I think the touchdown upside isn't as great with Quinshawn Judkins. I think he should get fed a ton, though. I think he's a solid short game receiver. You could ask him he can work vertically down the field as a receiver, too. I think he should get a good bit of volume. I don't think they're going to want the ball in their quarterback's hands. And, they do have a very good defense. I think they're going to be able to not be losing games by a lot of points, generally, in my opinion. But as far as touchdown upside, I would completely agree that there's a ton of players with higher touchdown probability than him. Then we get Jared Goff at the end of the 6th round to the CPU. We get Jordan Addison going to the King Julian. I like him as your wide receiver 3. Good build for you so far. Prob going back to his old ways with a very strong running back heavy team after this past mock draft where he went very tight end heavy. We'll see what Jeffrey Jacobs does here. Lots of good players here. So he goes with Emeka Egbuka, somebody who I think has the possibility to get Roma Dunze or JSN in the very short-term future, but I think is a very talented player. I think he is one of the safest receivers in this class. I think he's safer than Tetroy McMillan, in my opinion. And as far as the upside, I think he would excel in the Chris Godwin-like role. And, with Mike Evans and Chris Godwin ahead of him, both the guys that are older, they could potentially move on from. I think that he is a great long-term investment, and I really like him as your wide receiver too. I think you could get a lot of surprise production out of both of them, and I'm still very high on Roma Dunze. Woke goes with Penix to stack as his quarterback too, somebody that does have his shortcomings as specifically a runner of the football. It's not that he couldn't, he just doesn't want to. He wants to avoid injury. He's very good at avoiding sacks, and he did show some incredible ability to get the ball into very tight windows and make some incredible throws deep down the field. He has a very talented arm. So we'll end up seeing what he looks like. I think he's kind of, he's probably going to end up being like Tua if he ends up hitting in terms of fantasy production, somebody that could be, a low-end QB1 for you, which if he is a low-end QB1 as your QB2 is great. We'll see what Woke does after this. I know like he said, it hurt his heart to draft Quinshon Judkins there. We'll see if he takes a receiver here. You are on the clock, Mr. Woke. What are we doing? He goes with Chris Olave. This man is in love with Chris Olave. I will say, if Chris Olave can avoid being sent to the hospital, and especially if Tyler Shuck is any good at all, I love Olave for a lot of volume. Then we get Jeffrey going with Dak Prescott as his quarterback 3, somebody with a lot of upside. If he ever stays healthy, he's generally a top 5 quarterback. Then we get a bunch of wide receivers and Hawkinson off the clock. Then we get JMO. I love that pick once again. I think that's the second time you've gotten him. So now, taking a look at who is left. There's definitely some solid wide receivers left. Running back, it's getting a little bit more questionable. I'm going to go with the upside of Alvin Kamara here. I can, like we were talking, guys, with the flexibility of having a bunch of flex spots as opposed to specific positions with which you have to fill. I think that shooting for upside, it really helps with your build. And I'm going to shoot for Kamara because if he stays healthy long enough, he could finish as, some type of RB1. He's generally an RB1, probably not going to ever be the RB1, but at this point, as a running back 3, that's fine with me. We'll see what Prob is going to do. Woke says, I'm drafting Olave everywhere. I was looking for a reason not to. I mean, you just got to believe in the talent. He is a very talented player. It's kind of like what we've seen with Garrett Wilson, where it just sucks so much for him that he's never been allowed to see the upside. I'm going to go potentially another old wide receiver. I'm trying to see if I like anybody substantially more. I think with Mike Evans, though, I'm going to go with Mike Evans. I think with Evans, this is a little bit older of a team where I have Kamara, Evans, and Kittle, but I think he could give me wide receiver 1 points per game. He's still with Baker Mayfield. I don't think Rizard is the new offensive coordinator, is going to do very much with this offense. I think he's going to probably keep things relatively the same. Then Jerry Jeudy, I knew was going to go right after if I didn't take him. I like Jerry Jeudy. I think the upside is better with Mike Evans, but I think obviously you're getting a younger wide receiver with Jeudy. Just quarterback questions. Then we got Jeffrey Jacobs back on the clock here with Woke up. So taking a look at Prob's team real quick. We got JD and Caleb. I love the combo for you there. You got Hunter, Adams, and Hill. A lot of upside. You're kind of going with some of these older vets for upside like I am too. I like that for you. You got Devon Achane, somebody who could be a top 5 back again. Chuba, somebody that could be, your low-end RB1, high-end RB2. Kenneth Walker, whenever he plays, he puts up points and numbers. Then I got Hall, Johnson, and Kamara for a decent bit of upside with Hall and Kamara, with some safety, I think, Johnson. Upside at tight end with Kittle, McMillan, and Evans. Wide receiver, Allen and May. The King Julian has T-Law and McCarthy at quarterback. I like the upside there. I think they could both rise tremendously in startup value next season. Then you got Chase, London, Addison, Williams, and Jeudy. I love the wide receiver core you got going there. And RJ Harvey I like for the next couple of seasons as well. We got Jeffrey going with Cortland Sutton, somebody that I like as well. I mentioned that. I took him in the last mock we did. Azure. And I actually think that's a very smart pick, by the way, given that you have Igbuka and Odunze, who definitely are talented wide receivers. I love them for the long term. I think anybody that knows what they're talking about knows that Rome Odunze and Igbuka are good players. And then with Cortland Sutton, you're getting somebody that should be able to cover for you in the meantime, while you potentially might have to wait for one or both of them to break out. But the long term is absolutely there with them. Wilk goes with Jaden Higgins, somebody who like I mentioned, I do like the fit with Houston. You're not going to have him be the X on the line of scrimmage. He's not very good against press coverage, but he's going to probably be in the slot some, be a flanker some, so I like that for him. Then CPU goes Ayuk and Pearsall, taking both 49ers wide receivers right after another, allowing him to get Jaden Reed. Jaden Reed, somebody who I think is very talented, one of the better players with the ball in his hands. It sucks that he just is limited in the sense of he's not really going to play very often in 2 wide receiver sets, but he's explosive for sure. Chris Godwin, somebody that I really like. He was a wide receiver 1 until he was hurt this past season. So obviously a very talented player and another guy that can give you that production while you potentially wait for Egbuka and Odunze. I like your build there. A bunch of CPU. Then we get Josh Downs again. So you have another very good wide receiver team here. Leaving me on the clock. It's very icky at running back. I have Kamara, Johnson, and Hall. I don't really like any of the running backs that are here. Definitely going to wait for quarterback. Leaves me with wide receiver. With wide receiver here, I think I'm going to go with Khalil Shakir. Somebody that's a little bit younger, somebody that I think is a very steady play for me. Given that I have, Mike Evans, somebody that's older and potentially could miss some time. It would just really suck to have Evans get hurt and then not have anybody to give me some consistent production. So we'll do that. Then we got no. Prav, my friend is a big Shakir guy. But you got Kyle Williams, so you broke my heart too. We're even now, friendo. And then as much as he hates DeAndre Swift, and for a good reason, I think it's a good pick for you, man. Securing up more running back depth. Taking a look at who's here. It's getting kind of gross there at running back. At a wide receiver here. It's kind of iffy too. Man, it's getting rough. Yeah, I'm going to go Tucker Kraft here. I did leave you with Swift. Tucker Kraft is somebody that I think is a very viable flex play. I think that he's incredible with the ball in his hands and after the catch, and I really like tight ends that are more the traditional size, if possible, and are very good with the ball in his hand or within their hands, and they can make more out of the after the catch. That just turning a 10-yard catch into a 20-yard catch or potentially a long touchdown like Tucker Kraft can do is definitely the upside move at tight end that I want. Just knew you were about to go Swift there too. Yeah, it's very sad, but it was a good pick by you. He was definitely the last player in a tier to me, kind of. Then we get Juwan Jennings again. So the King Julian is building the same team that he had in the last startup and this startup, minus the centerpieces of the team in the first couple rounds here. But I like the wide receiver heavy build for you. And that's the thing about this, is just a ton of flexibility here. Then we got Jeffrey going Aaron Jones, somebody that should get some volume there as long as he's healthy. Kind of getting another guy that you can start in the running back spot. Somebody that, is a very talented player, very efficient. Then we get Bashal Tootin going to Woke. I love Bashal Tootin. I had to get him in my Bane Dynasty League. Traded up into the top of the third to be able to get him a couple months ago, right after the draft. Then we get Pitts and Pollard off the board. We'll see what Woke does here. With Woke, Tootin is his RB2 after Judkins. So not very strong at the running back position, but that's because he was going very strong at the wide receiver core. I love your team with Neighbors, BTJ, Rashi Rice, Chris Olave, Jaden Higgins, and Jaden Reed. Very strong wide receiver core. Then obviously you have Herbert and Penix. Then let's see, who did he take? Still on the clock. I'm curious, anybody who's watching this, right? Let me know in the chat, who do you think by year's end is the starting running back in Jacksonville? There are so many ways this could go. ETN could potentially get traded. He could just remain the starter. He could return to being efficient. He's decreased in efficiency the last couple seasons, so it does worry me. You know, Tank Bigsby, while he's one of the worst receiving backs that there is, was very talented on the ground, very efficient, had some big boom games, and looked really good as a runner of the football. Obviously, Bashal Tutin is one of the best avoided tackle and broken tackle running backs in this draft class. An explosive player, one of the best athletes we've seen in the combine in some time. Even LaQuint Allen is a very talented receiving back, probably not as good on the ground and not much of a team investment. But I'm curious, who do you guys think is the RB1 by the end of the season in Jacksonville? Then we get Jalen Milroe here. Somebody, once again, like I said, tons of upside with him as your QB3. Then we get Charbonnet going off the board, somebody with a ton of upside if he sees the field. And, being behind Kenneth Walker, there's a good bet on that happening. Yab says, my bet is Tank being the first and second out back with Tootin as the third out back. Interesting. Woke says not ETN. Yeah, if I had to guess, it would be not ETN. It's as well. And Prob says Tank. Yeah. I think it's going to be some combination of Tank and Bashal Tutin, in my opinion. I think that, I don't want, if I'm a Bashal Tutin owner, obviously it's great to get a bunch of volume, but yeah, not ETN. But I think, a Tank and Tutin combo could be very good. Kind of like, with Travion Henderson, I just don't want, I like that he has Ramondre there because I don't want him just getting, 25 carries a game. I don't want him getting hurt. He hasn't really shown that he can handle that. With Tutin, he did get some games with volume, but he did deal with an ankle injury, and I would just want to be cautious before he gets a full workload. I don't know if I want that for him personally, but I could be wrong as well. Although he did play through that ankle injury. But yes, not ETN. I think they want Tutin to be the guy. I do as well, man. I'm sure you've seen the interview, or at least the quote, I believe it was, from Gladstone, where in his pitch to become the GM, getting Bashal Tutin as a priority day 3 pick was specifically something he mentioned in the outline. So that makes a lot of sense. We get Travis Kelce here, somebody who still has shown flashes of upside, like very high-end upside. We'll see what he has in the tank for his last season. Maybe Mahomes tries to stat pad him a little bit. But and then Woke says, but obviously if he fumbles, then they'll not feed him. Right. Tank is a running back who doesn't fumble. He's RB1 by year 1. I don't think Tank had issues last season with fumbling, but I do think that Tank actually did fumble a good bit as a rookie, if I remember correctly. I'm going to take a look real quick. I'm curious. So, yeah, Tank actually had 4 fumbles this past season and 1 lost. But I do think he's a very talented runner of the football. Do I have my quarterback 3 yet? I do not have my quarterback 3 yet. Well, last time I went with Geno Smith. This time I'll mix it up a little bit and go with Stafford. Yeah, woke tank is more so your gap scheme runner, whereas Tootin excels at the outside zone. So I think that um, I do think that Cohen, if I remember correctly, employs a good variety of runs, but I think he also obviously caters some of his scheming to the talents of the players with which he has. So um, I think that he'll just adapt to what they're good at doing. But I really love Tootin in wide zone. One hole and he is gone to the crib, and nobody's catching that guy. So then we get Evan Ingram and Sam Darnold again for Prob. Very good picks. I love the Evan Ingram pick. Take a look at what I have and don't have. Obviously, this is a bit of an abbreviated draft, but got Josh Allen, May, and got Stafford as my QB3, so all set there. Then got McMillan, Evan, Shakir at wide receiver, a little bit light, but Hall, Johnson, and Kamar at running back. Got 2 tight ends, definitely not tight end. You know what? I'll shoot for the upside and go with Jaden Blue. Maybe he gets the control of the backfield. We'll see what the King Julian does here. So he goes with the counterpart of Dallas, Javonte Williams. I do think Javonte Williams gets a good crack at being the lead back. I just don't think I think he's kind of washed after that multi-ligament knee injury. But another year removed, maybe I'm wrong. Becky Rashad check down was such an emphasized part of Baker's progressions last year. Yeah, and I mean, and Bucky and Rashad are both incredible in the passing game. So I think he's miss out with that. Miss out on that W Tank. Yeah, I didn't miss out on Tank Bigsby. I'm okay with it. Yeah, well, Tank Bigsby is definitely not going to be the receiving back. I mean, that'll be LaQuint Allen before it's him, in my opinion. So then Ramondre Stevenson goes, somebody who I think should get some volume in that Patriots offense that I think should be pretty improved from what it was this past season. And now we have Woke. Woke, it is your opportunity to pick up the man, the myth, the legend. It is your opportunity to draft Tank Bigsby. All right, let's take a look real quick at some teams here, see how everybody did. We'll go, I'll do mine last. So we got Prob, he's got Jaden Daniels, and Caleb Williams is a super flex and regular quarterback. That's great. Devon Achane is his RB1 with Chuba, Kenneth Walker, and DeAndre Swift potentially being able to be inserted at running back. Travis Hunter is his wide receiver 1. Somebody who I think is extremely talented, and I think the ceiling is top tier wide receiver. We'll see. People are starting to worry a little bit, at least on Reddit, where they were concerned about the new comments about him playing defense. They didn't spend all this draft capital for him to be just a cornerback. He's going to play both positions. I couldn't be any less worried about him. Evan Ingram is your tight end 1, somebody with a lot of upside, and then you got Tyreek Hill, Adams, and the like. Very good team, lots of upside. Then we'll go to the King Julian. So he's got T-Law and JJ McCarthy, both quarterbacks, so I think could potentially Arroyo. Yeah, I like Elijah Arroyo, man. So he has Trevor Lawrence and JJ McCarthy, some upside quarterbacks who I think could potentially gain a lot of ground in their startup value with good seasons. RJ Harvey, somebody who I think is going to have a pesky Dobbins there for a little bit, but long term I'm not worried, and Dobbins has really never been able to stay healthy, so it potentially could just be a non-factor if he gets hurt early on into the season. Jamar Chase, most people's wide receiver 1 in Dynasty. Travis Kelce, an upside tight end. Then, you got very strong wide receiver production with London, Addison, Williams, and Judy and Downs. Then, hey, maybe Javonte Williams does lock up that backfield. We'll take a look at Jeffrey's team. So he went with Kyler Murray, Jahmyr Gibbs, or Kyler Murray and Baker Mayfield as his quarterbacks with Dak Prescott backing him up. elite high-end upside across the board there. Very well could have 3 top 12 quarterbacks. Then you have Jahmyr Gibbs, potentially the RB1 this year. Saquon Barkley, same deal with him. Aaron Jones, a lot of upside as well. Charbonnet, tons of upside in case of a Kenneth Walker injury. Ramondre Stevenson should get a good bit of volume. Then we got Roma Dunze and Egbuka, both guys who I think potentially could get blocked out for a little bit, but I think are really talented. But then he thought to get Cortland Sutton and Chris Godwin for win-now production, especially with Sutton. With Godwin, we'll see if he's available and looking good immediately, but very talented player. And I love the stack with Baker Mayfield. Very smart, in my opinion. I did not select a tight end, but we didn't do enough of rounds here. He could have gotten somebody to put up some decent production. And if you don't get a difference-making tight end, I find it's kind of worthless to draft tight end to a degree at points. The floor is lower than I previously thought with these comments, but I'm not considering if my 102 will average 0 points per game versus 8 versus 0 if he's a bust. Yeah. So with Woke, he gets Justin Herbert and Michael Penix. Justin Herbert, I like as a low-end QB1, very talented real-life player, no long-term concern about his job security. With Michael Penix, I thought he looked pretty impressive. The stats don't really show it. Kyle Pitts dropped an interception. I believe he had two. I believe both of his interceptions were dropped passes from his receivers. So if you were just box score watching, it's not really indicative of how talented he is. We'll see if he puts it all together, though. Still a bit unknown with a limited sample size. Milroe, if he puts it together, potentially the 101. We'll just have to see about that. I think it's a long shot, but you also just don't have to pay very much to get him. Then, you get Quinshon Judkins as your RB1. I like that. But I really like the strength of this team, which is the wide receiver core. Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas is a nasty duo. Rashee Rice could be a top 5 guy. Chris Olave could bounce back. A very talented player. Jaden Higgins, I like the fit, like I said. Jaden Reed, high upside play any given week. Consistency is going to be a little bit iffy. I like him a lot more in best ball than I do in lineup leagues. Bashal Tutin, tons of upside as well. So a lot of upside in youth across the board for the most part with this team. Pretty much the entire team. Then taking a look at mine, I got Josh Allen and Drake May as quarterback 1 and 2. Lots of upside. I like that. Breece Hall is my RB1. Caleb Johnson, Alvin Kamara. Lots of upside with Kamara and Hall. I think Caleb is more of a floor play, but he should get a good bit of volume. And I like that for these flex. I like running back kind of, even though I did more of a balanced team here, I do like getting a good bit of running back production in the lineup here. Tetroy McMillan is my wide receiver 1, along with Mike Evans, who could put up top 12 points per game. Khalil Shakir, more of your safe guy. And then tight end, George Kittle, one of the few tight ends that actually matters in a non-heavy premium league or a non-start 2 tight end league. And then Tucker Kraft, another high upside guy, I think is very good after the catch and could potentially join that tier if he takes a step in the right direction in terms of volume and continues the efficiency and yak ability that we saw. And then secured Matthew Stafford, Jaden Blue for potential upside there. So I thought everybody drafted well today. I really appreciate you guys coming out here, supporting the channel. It's a lot of fun. I intend on doing a draft potentially tomorrow night. And, in the upcoming weeks, I want to start getting into some redraft as well. Let me know if you guys would want to do that. I think it'd be a lot of fun. And, yeah, thanks for coming out. Thanks for supporting the channel, and I really appreciate it. Thanks.